And welcome, as you're riding with the king, to the Howard Eskin Show. It is it's chilly, it's whatever. It was warmer, it was chilly in the Philadelphia area, but welcome. Another great guest tonight, but we'll get to that. And there really are some things to talk about. And the Phillies, and I'm not going to let this Bryce Harper thing go lightly. And we're going to deal with that. And we're going to deal with it later in the show. And I'm going to ask our guest, who is 14-year Major Leaguer Bret Boone. But first, I want to tell you about our presenting sponsor, who is an award-winning presenting sponsor, and that would be Jeff Stillwell Financial Advisors. He's won a prestigious award. It's the Circle of Success. It's given by Ameriprise Financial for their top performing financial advisors. Now, they recognize those consistently who demonstrate exceptional commitment to financial planning, outstanding client service, essentially placing them within the group of high-achieving financial advisors. And anybody that has Jeff Stillwell as their financial advisor knows that Jeff is a really, really sharp guy. He's established himself as one of the company's top advisors, and only a select number of high-performing advisors own that award. Jeff Stillwell, 732-343-0813. All right. We are going to talk baseball. No Eagles tonight. There's no reason to talk the Eagles. It's overkill at this point. There's new Sixers news. Breaking news. New Sixers news. I will get it. I will get to that. I see somebody in Clearwater said that it was 75 today. Gee, thanks. Thanks. But it's great. Thanks for letting everybody know who is watching or listening to the podcast. I want to deal with the Harper situation. And, the way I feel about what Dave Dombrowski said and what Harper whined about, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into all that. And there's going to be some Sixers news, breaking news, Sixers news. We'll get into that as well. Breaking as we're doing the show live on Wednesday evening. But first, I want to tell you about some of our other fine partners. And one of those would be Thomas Chevrolet, family-owned business, which is, you'll notice it as soon as you walk in, because the family works at the store. 1263 West Baltimore Pike in Media. Really nice vehicles. 38 years in the business, and really, really some nice vehicles. And right now I'm driving one. That would be the Equinox. You don't hassle or haggle over price. You deal with good people. You have fun. Whatever it is, they have Equinox, Silverado, Tavera. They have new, and they have a great selection of pre-owned vehicles as well. Up to $14,000 in savings available. 0% APR available up to 60 months. Service, you need service. They deal with service, and they will deal with any car. They'll be able to service, and they will service any vehicle. I didn't mention the Corvette. They are a certified Corvette specialist dealer as well. Thomas Chevrolet, really, really, really nice people. You can say they're great people, but that doesn't give you the whole picture. Really nice people. 1263 West Baltimore Pike in Media. You can call them at 610-566-8600 or check them out on the internet, thomaschevy.com. Also, I want to tell you about Piazza Property Pros and something new and exciting for them. They're going to start their own podcast. Listen to this.
Hi, I'm Liz Piazza, and I'm Operations Manager for Piazza Outdoor Living. I have my granddaughter here with me today, Mackenzie, who's going to share some great news for our future of the company.
We're excited to announce our new podcast, Dirt to Dollars. This podcast is designed for families, homeowners, and anyone who loves creating beautiful outdoor spaces. We'll be talking about outdoor living trends, pools, hardscape, landscape, project highlights, and even behind the scenes with our teams. This podcast will be featuring guest speakers in the industry and more.
Check us out on Dirt to Dollars by Piazza Outdoor Living.
Okay, Piazza Property Pros and their number 610-566-2608. Catch their new podcast, 610-566-2608. And you can check them out at piazzaoutdoor.com. All right, one other thing that I want to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about it before we get to Bret Boone. Good giveaway, and we're going to use it over the next two shows. Courtesy of Fanatics. The giveaway is a Series 1 Topps baseball card set, an unopened box. 2026 Series 1 Topps baseball cards possibly includes an autograph or a relic card. Answer your answer through the contact page at howardeskin.com by midnight, Tuesday, February 24th. What we're going to do, we're going to give you a question from this show and a question from Saturday's show to win that. And I got another giveaway on Saturday as well. The show on Wednesday is when we'll give away this box of unopened baseball cards, courtesy of Fanatics. February 25th, 7:30 to see if you've won live on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Great prize. Winner will be randomly chosen from all correct entries. Well, I told you we always try to have terrific guests, and it's baseball season. I know people in Philadelphia talk football all the time, but there's a lot to talk about with baseball. And I've known this wonderful, wonderful guy since he was a little kid. It's just, I don't know who it ages more, but hey, listen, we're never old. We're just older. But the family is a great family. Loved his dad, loved his brother, didn't really know his grandfather. But Bret Boone is our guest now, and Major Leaguer for 14 years in Major League Baseball. That's a pretty good run. Welcome and thanks for joining the program, Bret. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Now, it's a baseball family is interesting because not everybody who plays Major League Baseball comes from a baseball family. So where along the way and what things, your grandfather was a major leaguer, your dad was a terrific player for the Phillies and he played with other major league teams. Where did you pick up and how did you get to be the kind of player that you were? What pointers or whatever were given to you by members of your family, and I guess specifically your dad?
Well, I think, it probably, when I tell stories about my childhood, and it was, it's some of my fondest memories. I was running around. I remember Howard Eskin when I was running around the vet as a little kid. And some of the fondest memories I have in the game, because it's something that I was born into, obviously, with my grandfather was probably my earliest influence at a young age. Just kind of put the first ball in my hand, first bat in my hand, and said, "Go get him." And I loved it from the get go. But people are surprised when I always say my dad didn't teach me anything about this game, and I mean that literally. He'd
Really?
have a pointer for me here and there, but mom and dad had me at an early age, and his entire career, or I'm sorry, my entire childhood through high school, through college, dad was still in the big leagues. So, we all get off school and we have our little league game at 3. Well, dad's already at the ballpark. So he never got to see me play growing up. I mean, when I got to high school, if there was a game that he could make it to when he was playing for the Angels, he'd pop in, but it was very rare for my dad to come to a game. College, same thing. He still had that conflict. He was still playing. So he wasn't the typical dad that got to come out and see his son play. He probably saw me, Howard, from the age I was in organized baseball, probably 8 or 9 till through my college years. Dad probably saw me play live 10 times.
Wow.
Out of thousands of games. And the talks we'd have. Now, fast forward to my professional career. In 1994, I was a member of the Cincinnati Reds. Dad was the bench coach under Davey Johnson. So we got to work together professionally, and that was different.
Yep.
And we worked very well together, actually. He knew my swing as good as anybody, and we had a really good rapport. We had we had a very good, we separated the father son from the player coach. And I really enjoyed that time spending with my dad. I remember going into that offseason, I had gotten traded to the Cincinnati Reds from the Mariners, and Davey Johnson gets on the line and welcoming me to the ball club. And he says, "By the way, how's your dad doing?" I said, "Dad's great. By the way, he's right here." He goes, "Could you put him on the line?" So him and Davey are old teammates. The next thing I know, my dad comes to me and he says, "How would you feel about me being your bench coach?" And I'm a 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid. And I'm thinking, no, I don't have to have my dad following me around. Well, fast forward, it was one of my favorite years in the big leagues was that year I got to spend with my dad. And then over the years, I played against him when he was managing the Reds. I played against him when he was managing the Royals. Beat his brains in. He'll vouch for me, and it was great. But back to your question, I learned. You know what Dad taught me? He taught me how to be a pro. He taught me how to be a big leaguer, how to act, how to walk, how to carry yourself, how to be accountable to not only your organization but your teammates. That's what I learned from him. But as far as hitting and throwing and running, and that's trial and error, just like it is all the time. In today's day and age, we get too caught up in the mechanics and how we do things,
Yeah.
and special coaches here and there. And I'll tell you from experience, I don't care how many special coaches you have growing up. If you don't have it, you have no chance of playing a sport at the highest level. So I always encourage. And when I first retired, I coached for uh, my kids' teams for years, and had some great times, and tried to tell these parents, don't take it that serious. Let these kids be kids and enjoy their childhood and learn. Sports is a great place to learn life lessons. And I think we just put too much emphasis. Believe me, if you're good enough and to play at the highest level of a sport, you will be found out. You will have that opportunity, and what you do with that opportunity will dictate whether you make it a living doing it.
You actually make a great point. I want to show a picture of the younger Boone family together when you were all down. I guess it was Veterans Stadium at that time. It was your grandfather, and we'll have that picture and we'll put it up. But while I get the picture, you made a great point about not letting the parents push, just let the kid play. So many parents nowadays,
Yeah,
look how little,
that's a classic.
look how little Aaron is.
Yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
There's your grandfather in the background, and obviously your dad there, and there are you. But which is a great picture. Obviously a great memories back then. But you made a point about parents pushing. You didn't say pushing. Let the kid just play and enjoy the game. I see so many parents think their kids are good enough. Oh, yeah, he's going to be a major leaguer. He's going to be this. He's going to be, and then they push him and they force him to go to lessons. Just let him play. Do you think too many parents do that now with their kids?
Oh, absolutely, especially now,
Yeah,
with all the travel ball. It's turned into a business,
yeah.
and I think sports is the greatest venue we have to teaching you life lessons, how to get your butt kicked, how to fail and get back
Mhm.
up and better yourself for it, learn from it. Uh, you 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 get to gain a lot of social skills by interacting with teammates, handling adversity, handling success, which can be just as challenging, but not taking it too serious. It's at a time when these kids are 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. My lesson was always this: listen, don't take this too serious. It gets serious soon enough. So let's enjoy the game. Let's
Great
go
point.
out and beat someone's brain. Now, I always say we're here to win. We're here to kick your butt, and it is important. That being said, losing isn't the end all be all. Use it as a life lesson. But I want these kids to play as hard as they can, be as prepared as they can be. Whatever happens in the game happens. Hopefully we win. But after the game, be a normal kid. Go hang out with your buddies, go play video games, whatever you do, go chase girls, do whatever you do that kids do, because you only get to be a kid once. I see a lot of the younger generation now. It's taken so serious. And not, this isn't for all parents. I don't want to just
Right.
say all these parents are crazy, but there are the ones where it's like, man, it, it must be tough being 14 and they're treating it like this is your occupation already. Because as much as I always say, chase your dreams. Somebody's got to make it to the big leagues. Somebody's got to make it to the NFL. But if I'm being completely honest, it's probably not you, little Johnny. So let's make you the best shortstop we can for our travel ball team. Get to as far. When you're 16, 17, that's when you're starting to find out who the real players
Right.
are. They start to separate themselves. And if you're meant to be, hey, you might be a junior college player. You might be a Division I player. You might be a professional draft pick. When you get to that point, now you start preparing in a different way and you start honing your skills. But there's no way to really tell when you're 14 before you're fully developed, before you go through puberty as a man, how good you're going to be. You gotta
Mm,
wait. And I'm always from I love to win and go into that game to win every single time, but also take it for what it is and be a kid, play other sports, play football, play basketball. I think it prepares you for the other sport. I think by me playing football when I was a little kid, it taught me lessons about me when I'm playing baseball. Playing basketball helped me with some footwork for football. So I think it
mhm.
was just well-rounded you, and it gets you away from the sport. When we start playing year round when we're 13, that's a recipe for kids to burn out. And I think we see that in today's society where when we were kids, hey, if you were one of the good athletes in high school, you played basketball, you played football, you played baseball. And whatever the season one, that's what you
Right.
played. I understand that now it's very individualized, but I still encourage, man, when kids are young, what should we do, Brett? What should we do with our son? Let him play all the sports he wants. Find out what he's passionate about, and then shoot for the stars. And whatever happens, happens. But in the meantime, I think if you go at it correctly, you can create a lot of memories. And when you're older and you have a family and you look back on your childhood, you can go, you know what, man, that was fun. That little league team we had and da 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 da
Yeah.
whatever year, boy, those are good memories. I just think if you take it too serious, too hard, you're going to be disappointed, and that same family's going to look back and go, my childhood stunk and so put too much pressure on me and I
Yeah.
had no idea. So I hate to see that happen. Let kids be kids.
All right. Let's deal with today's game and today's players. There's some drama when Philly started spring training. Bryce Harper, just play the game. He didn't. Dave Dombrowski was very honest when he said he didn't have an elite season. Said he was an all-star player, didn't have an elite season, so he took it personally and he's made an issue of it. It's too much. Uh, Number one, are players in the game, and I'll say the upper echelon of players, are they too sensitive when there's any form of criticism towards them or towards something they didn't like?
Well, uh, I can tell you first and foremost, yeah, the game has changed, and and it will continue to change. I remember being a kid running around and grandpa, being retired. Gramps retired in 1959. My dad started his career in 72. And I remember his conversations between grandpa and dad talking about the generations, how they were tougher in his day, grandpa would always say. And my dad would kind of look at him like, what are you talking about? They compare eras, they compare the players of the era. And then when I started playing professionally, I had the same interaction with my grandpa and as my dad would, I'd be saying, "Hey dad, we got Randy Johnson tonight." "Well, we had Steve Carlton." That's what makes my family so great. We can actually argue that
Mm-hmm.
with experience on all in all aspects of the conversation. But bottom line is being in the game last year with the Texas Rangers being their hitting coach, I got to kind of be on that side of the curtain for the first time in a while. I've been out of uniform for 16, 17 years and getting back into it. The guys are different. They come up in that tournament baseball, in that 16U baseball where it seems like it's a showcase. You're going to a showcase, not to win a tournament. You're going to showcase your skills. And it's just a different generation of baseball, how we prepare for the professional level. These kids are wonderful. I loved working with the guys. They're still baseball players. They still love the game. It's still the same game, but it's this generation's version. I don't know that they're the word you're looking for. I don't know if they're more sensitive. I think we were sensitive. I think I was sensitive. The difference between me and maybe a Bryce Harper right now, I might not vocalize it. I might not go to the press and talk about it. I probably keep it in house a little more. I know I saw Bryce recently, and what a great player he's been. I think a two-time MVP and a great career. And actually, I love a Bryce Harper. I think he's done a great job being kind of the ambassador for the Philadelphia Phillies since he came over from Washington. But you're right; they're making it a bigger deal than it was. I knew what Dombrowski was
Yeah,
saying
it
when I
was.
saw it this offseason. It's basically Bryce Harper is a Hall of Fame type player, and he was kind of indicating maybe he's not the MVP Bryce Harper anymore, but he's still a pretty damn good player. Well, Bryce took that at, hey, we have egos. I had an ego. Howard, you know that. And we do get our feelings hurt and we
Yeah,
are
but don't you
sensitive.
just have to let it go? Don't you?
You I
Yeah,
think with time, yeah, you let it go. And some guys handle it one way and some guys handle it another. For me personally, and I'm not saying Bryce is right or wrong, that's not how I would handle it as a player. How I would handle it is, yeah, whatever Dombrowski said, that's great. I don't care. I'm here to play for the Philadelphia Phillies. Where'd you go, Howard?
I don't know. There we go. There we go. I'm switching around on you.
Okay, did
Um,
we miss any? Do I
no,
have to,
we
oh,
heard you.
okay.
We heard all of you. But the problem I have is you got a mix of young and veteran players.
Mhm.
Obviously, the most productive player on the Phillies last year was Kyle Schwarber,
Mhm.
without question.
Right.
Um, and Bryce started to bring up points of, well, you need somebody to hit behind you, and who's going to play. Just go out there and play. I mean, Schwarber wouldn't complain. He could hit seventh, and he would never complain. That's the kind of
Right.
person he is. I just don't think it's good for the other players to see, you're all in this thing together. And the Phillies have not succeeded in the playoffs. They haven't won a World Series since what, 2008. Last year they lost again in the first round. So I'm just wondering how it affects the younger players and other players on the team when Bryce Harper seems to be, and I say seems to be, and I don't know, worried about what people say about him more than what people are looking at when it comes to the Phillies themselves.
Right. And like I said, I prefaced it with I think Bryce has been a really good thing for the Philadelphia Phillies. I think he's carried himself well and been a good example for the city of Philadelphia. Obviously, this Dombrowski off-season comments really struck a nerve with him. I mean, really, because he's still talking about it. I think in a couple weeks it'll be over with, and we'll be off to the races, and we'll be playing. The only thing I would suggest is if it was going to be somewhat of a distraction at this stage of the spring, it might have been prudent for Dombrowski and Bryce to sit down before we got to this point and
Mhm.
just kind of hash things out. Maybe Dave has some things he said that you know what, Bryce, this is what I meant. Clarify each other. Hey, maybe they're still gonna disagree on how it was said, what was said, but at least they could have a man-to-man talk about it and squash it before. We don't want to give it to the press and let the press have a story to volley back and forth all spring when we're just our goal here is to try to get ready. I think as far as his teammates being affected, I don't think so. I think that's a pretty, from what I know, without being in that clubhouse, seems like a pretty closely knit group that all have a good understanding of each other, that are close. And I think what's going on in that clubhouse, what's said on camera outside, that's not going to affect that team. But from an organizational point, from a managerial, from a uniform personnel point, you hate to see that be the narrative every day is, oh, we're going to talk about Bryce and what Dombrowski said 3 months ago. I think, like I said, I would handle it differently. He's handling it the way he wants to, but I think within a week or so, this is going to be squashed and it's going to be old news.
I think part of the problem is Bryce Harper has goals. Obviously, he needs to win a World Series. Doesn't everybody? He hasn't won. Washington won the World Series the year after he left, so that probably gnaws at him a little bit.
Right.
But he also wants to be a Hall of Famer, and doesn't everybody? And right now, I don't think he's got 6 years left on this contract. Who knows if he'll play longer than that? But right now, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. He's not going to get the 400 home runs. Doesn't get into the Hall of Fame. He's not going to get there next year. He's his numbers are. I mean, Dave Parker. I can't believe when I saw he finally got into the Hall of Fame. My gosh, his numbers were really good, and he was a terrific right fielder with a great arm. And you start looking at some of the other Hall of Famers now today. It's sometimes it's hard to compare, but I think he worries about that. I think it's in the back of his mind, whether he worries about it or not. I shouldn't say that. It's in the back of his mind, and I think any negative comment, he probably is offended that it could affect people thinking about him as a Hall of Famer. I know you didn't think about that when you played. You just went out and played the game.
Well, you know what I learned to do as I got older, and this came with being educated by failing.
Right.
I learned to not worry about things I had no control over. And my dad taught me that lesson. You know, a couple times I got snubbed at, what I thought was a snub of an all-star or a gold glove. And I would, how can this happen? And my dad would kind of sit me down and say, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to call up the writers and have them vote again? And maybe you'll win this time? Basically mocking me like, Brett, life isn't fair. As soon as you realize life isn't fair, you can move on with your life. And it makes the awards when you do win. When I won my first gold glove, when I went to my first all-star, it was really rewarding. But early on in my career, I wanted to be noted. I wanted to be recognized for my achievements. As life went on, I learned that it wasn't about that. And those are things that are out of my control. I think goals are great. I set goals as a player the second half of my career. I learned that from Edgar Martinez. He said, set goals and set them high. Now, I can't set goal like, well, I'm going to win the most valuable player this year. Because what is that? That's something I have no control over. I can have the best numbers in the league, and if the writers don't vote for me, I don't win. But I know what I can control is how many games I play. I can control how many homers I hit. I can't control it, but I can have goals. I can have goals how many runs I want to drive in 100. I want to hit 25 plus. I want to hit 300. Those are things that I can obtain, and if I obtain them, uh, there's their numbers. They're not going away. Things like, well, this year I want to be an all-star. This year I want to win the gold glove.
Mhm.
Well, I might have the best numbers in the league and I don't get voted for, so I don't win the gold glove. I could be hitting 350 at the all-star game and somebody votes in somebody else. So those are things I don't have control over. So I think goals are good, but only goals that you can obtain.
Okay, so here I'm going to make.
By the way, though, Howard, I think I had I forget who I had on last week on my podcast. It was a Hall of Fame discussion.
Right.
I think the Hall of Fame, and I think this, you have to do this. I don't think you can vote for the Hall of Fame like we have in the past. I don't think those magic numbers of 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, the 300 wins as a pitcher definitely is going to be thrown out the
Yeah. Right.
window
Well, that's never going to
because
happen
of the
again.
way the game is played now, because the emphasis is on OPS. I train for average homers, RBIs. Today's hitter trains for WAR and OPS. So that's what gets you in the Hall of Fame. RBIs, if you drove in 15, 16, 1,700 ribbies in a career, that was Hall of Fame worthy. Today, you might have your best hitter, a Shohei Ohtani or an Aaron Judge, leading off. So they're not going to have the RBI opportunities that the 3 and the 4 hole guys used to. So I think the credentials have to change as far as how we vote on the current crop of players to the Hall of Fame. And I think that's when you look at Harper, he's not going to have the magical numbers of 500 homers, or he doesn't. But they're gonna judge him on different set of statistics, with the OPS and the WAR being the two big ones that they put so much emphasis on today. All
All
right, I'm
right.
done. Go ahead.
That's all right. No, that's good. But that was very informative. But here, people in Philadelphia think that Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer. And I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's had uh, a group of good years. His numbers, and again, I guess you don't deal with all the numbers, but his numbers just don't. I don't think they're Hall of Fame worthy. But and this is not a knock on you, but it's just if he deserves to be in Hall of Fame discussion. I looked up his numbers and your numbers.
Very similar.
I mean, very similar. That's exactly right. I mean, hits are close. You played 2 less years in the big leagues than he did, and you have almost as you have like I think well RBIs you have 4 less RBIs, hits you have home runs you have 7 less home runs, average it's within 10 points, but you have
How
four.
about Gold Gloves?
I'm just saying that you have 4 Gold Gloves, and Chase Utley was at best an average defensive second baseman. You have 4 Gold Gloves, 3 All-Star games. He's got a few more All-Star games, 2 Silver Slugger awards. Well, why aren't you in a Hall of Fame discussion when Chase Utley is in a Hall of Fame discussion?
You tell me, Howard. Let's go back to Bob Boone. Okay. Life isn't fair, and as soon as you find out life isn't fair, you can move on. Let me be realistic in this. I think Chase Utley was a great player. Yep. Postseason has some, he had some great postseason, won a World Series. I remember when I was on the ballot, and it's an honor to just be on the ballot.
Yeah,
but
sure.
To be honest with you, at the time, looking at the criteria, looking at the people that were in the Hall of Fame, I thought I was a really, really good player, especially at my peak. I was there with the best second baseman in the world, if not for 3 or 4 years. But if I were to have to vote on myself at that time when I was on the ballot, I thought I was a little bit short. And I said, man, if I could have had a couple more years of dominance, I think you have to dominate your era. I look at a guy that I came right after, and that was Robbie Alomar. This guy dominated the position for 10 years, for a decade. Yep. That's what a Hall of Famer is. I was tickled to death. I'm kind of getting a little weird on my wording, but to see a Jeff Kent go in recently, I've been pounding the drum for Jeff Kent for 10 years. I thought, if Jeff can't get in, how can the other second baseman come along? He's the all-time home run leader in the history of baseball at second base. He's got 1,500 plus RBIs. He's almost 300 career. He won an MVP. He was a decent defender, but I'll tell you this, people gave him a knock. He was a horrible defender. He wasn't. I watched him. If you hit it to him, you were out. He became efficient around the bag, turning a double play. He was never an elite defender, but he was fine. But I'll tell you what, he was a big offensive player, one of the best offensive second basemen to ever play the game, famously hit behind the greatest hitter I've ever seen in Barry Bonds, won an MVP. So the fact that Jeff Kent got in, it was I think they righted a wrong this year, and even though it wasn't the conventional way of getting in, it was one of the alternative platforms. I was glad to see him get in.
Yeah, but Chase Utley doesn't have those numbers, and I just looked up the OPS. You're a little behind Chase Utley, but not that far behind. It's just so if you're going to look at that, I look at 2,000 hits is not necessarily a Hall of Fame, but Chase Utley doesn't have 2,000 hits, and 2,000 hits. 3,000 hits gets you in. You said that's not as big a deal anymore, but players don't play as long. But reality is he doesn't have 2,000 hits. He played a long time. Mm-hmm. I don't think he had some great years here in Philadelphia, but at second base, I mean, he was a smart guy and people loved him and he did a lot of, there's no numbers there that jump out at you that say, well, wait a minute. Jimmy Rollins is more of a Hall of Famer than Chase Utley is, and Jimmy's not going to get in. And I think Scott Rowland was a really good player, but I don't think he had Hall of Fame numbers either. The Hall of Fame. It's interesting that you on your podcast had a Hall of Fame discussion. It's changed. The standards have changed, and I don't know if it's for the better. It should be very, very special to get into the Hall of Fame. And if you don't have as many players that one year, so be it. You don't have as many players.
It's amazing you'd think what the players talk about. And the WAR stat is important to players currently. They understand it. They know how you obtain a big WAR. The OPS, they're definitely aware of, and that's what they train for. I look at OPS. We didn't even know what WAR was when I played. We didn't even talk about OPS. And I'll tell you what, if OPS and WAR were the North Star when we were playing for getting a big contract, I'll guarantee a lot of guys from my generation would have a way better WAR and a way better OPS, but it wasn't about that. It was for the RBI guy driving 100. The home
Yep.
run, hit 25 or hit 30.
30.
And by all means, you hit 300, that's special. So those are the things we trained for. We didn't know about WAR. We didn't care about OPS. Nobody ever talked about it. Well, now they do, and they train for it. If I were to go back and go, okay, Brett, don't worry about driving at 100. Don't worry about this. Just worry about OPS. I would have made sure my OPS was higher. I would have made sure my WAR was higher. But that's not what we train for. So it is different. All your points are great, though. I mean, with these guys. And that's one thing I think about the Hall of Fame that's great is we can constantly debate. There's no for sure right answer. You have your strong opinions. I have my strong opinions. I see an Andrew Jones get in. You look at his numbers offensively and you say, well, that doesn't really add up to a Hall of Fame. But I look at Ozzie Smith. Why did Ozzie Smith get in? He's one of the few guys in the Hall of Fame that are there because he redefined the position at shortstop defensively. The
Yes,
Wizard.
he did.
If anyone I've ever played with or against in my career that redefined a position, it was Andrew Jones in center field. I came up with one of the best player I ever played with in Ken Griffey Jr. He was a tremendous center fielder. I played with Mike Cameron, Torrey Hunter, tremendous center fielders. I played 1 year with Andrew Jones in Atlanta. No one's even close to how good he was. And I think that's the main reason he's almost like an Ozzie Smith of 2026. He redefined the position. Now couple in 400-plus homers. That's why Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer today.
You know what players don't do nowadays? Analytics has changed the game. Unfortunately, it's not first to third anymore. It's not stolen bases. It's strikeouts don't make a difference. It's the long ball. And, it's all those things. But I watched, and I mentioned it, I had Larry Bowa on last week. And just by accident, I'm flipping through the channels, and I see the 80 World Series, the Phillies 80 World Series. I think it was the deciding
one of the
game.
Classics.
I know. And what classic season, because the playoffs were great against Houston. So, and you saw that. You were a young kid, but you remember that. But I saw Mike Schmidt go the other way. Here's a guy that hit 500 some home runs when 500 some home runs was really something. And he goes the other way, and guys were putting the bat on the ball, putting it in play, and just moving runners around. It doesn't happen anymore. How much? I don't know how to ask this question. Do you dislike, and if so, in what way, the way the game has changed in terms of analytics? Taking guys away from, moving runners doesn't improve your batting average, helps your team, but doesn't improve your batting average. You might win a game by moving runners. How much are you disappointed in the way the game's changed, if at all?
I wouldn't say disappointed, because I always said I'm never going to be like my grandpa, never going to be, and love him to death, but I'm never going to be that old grouch saying, when I played, it was the best. I've learned to embrace this generation. It is different. I think the analytics are wonderful. I think the data we have I'm very envious as an ex-player to see what these kids have at their fingertips as far as information. I think too much information in the wrong hands can be detrimental. That being said, as a player, I'd want everything they have. I want to know everything. I want to know tendencies. I want to know everything that they have to offer. And me as a professional, now I need to take that all in, decipher, use what I need for my personal game. I'll tell you a quick story, what I think about the game and how it changed my perception of the game. First half of my career, I played one way. I remember I get to Seattle just after the 2000 season. And Edgar Martinez, kind of a mentor of mine, and I sat down with him, and that was the first time where I really picked his brain and not how do you hit, but what is your thought process going into it? So to this day, Edgar's one of my best friends in the game, and he helped me a lot in my years in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
But we were playing a game one day. He always hit behind me. He hit fourth, I hit third. And I remember it was about an 8-2 game. In the 6th or 7th inning, we were winning by 6. There was a runner on second. There was nobody out. And Edgar went up there, and it was obvious. He had an inside-out swing anyway, but it was obvious that whatever he did that at bat, he was going to get that runner over. And he came back into the dugout, and I looked at him. He hit a one-hop rocket to the second baseman, got the guy to third. And he came back in the dugout. I said, Edgar, why'd you give yourself up in that position in an 8-2 ball game? He said, Booney, I didn't give myself up. He said, I was trying to get a hit the other way. He goes, but my job in that position is to get that guy to third if it's the worst case scenario. Best case is I get a base hit to right field and score the run. But at worst, I'm going to get him to third. I said, well, it's 8-2. What does it matter? He goes, I've learned this at a young age, Brett. He goes, you always play the game right. He said, and if you play the game right in the long run, your numbers are going to be there. Well, I thought about that, and I thought, wait a minute. If Edgar Martinez is doing that, then I'm going to do that. And if I do that, Johnny Olerud's going to do that. It makes perfect sense. That's how you create team chemistry. All guys pulling on the same end of the rope. If Edgar moves a runner over for John Olerud sitting on deck, who might not have driven in a run for a week, and I told you at the top, us players, we're very we are very fragile when it comes to, I could come off driving in 140 runs, and if I don't drive in a run for 3 or 4 days, I feel like I'm never going to drive a run in again. Well, if Edgar moves the runner over and Johnny Olerud hits a can of corn fly ball to center field and it scores a run, Johnny hasn't driven in a run in 10 days. Guess what he says? I can drive in a run. What does that make us? A better team, because now Johnny Olerud's feeling that way. And it goes down the line to that. Now, all of a sudden, you're the last guy on that roster. You're the 25th man that plays twice a week. If all the guys in the lineup are doing, well, I'm going to do it too. Everybody starts to do that. The greatest teams I've ever seen played against were the teams that genuinely pull for one another, not the backhanded compliment like, oh, way to swing it. Well, why? I should have been in that situation.
Right.
Genuinely pulling for one another. How do you establish that? By playing the game right, creating that camaraderie. And that's what a great team is. And when you have that, you're a tough enemy.
When you obviously you love baseball, you want to get back into baseball, from what I understand. You were with the Texas Rangers last year for part of the season, and you're not there now. What is in your future, and can you kind of explain that? What things happen in that situation?
Yeah, it was out of nowhere. It was I played for Bruce Bochy, very fond of him. We have a great relationship. We've been really good friends. I played
Great
for him
manager too.
Yeah. I played 1 year for him, and that was my 2000 season. I was with the Padres. Always been fond of Bruce. And we've had a friendship for 20, 25 years now. And it was right at the end of April, beginning of May. And I get a phone call, and it's Bruce. And I answered it, and kiddingly, I said, Bruce, what do you need to come back on the podcast again? You're just craving it. And he laughed. He goes, yeah, Booney, I need you to come back in uni. And I said, what are we talking about here? I need you to be my hitting coach. We're making a change, and I just need your personality around. And I just thought, is he serious right now? I'm in San Diego. I just got done walking my dog on the beach, and I'm going to pick up. And well, anyway, it's Bruce Bochy. It's a guy I have a lot of respect for. I said, and it might be good for me right now. I got up, I flew, met him in Boston, and I'll tell you what, I haven't been in uni in a long time. I learned a lot. It was a humbling experience. It was very educational to be back in the swing of things. Working with I ended up really enjoying the guys, really enjoying the challenge. It was probably harder than playing for me, because you can do as much as you can do behind the scenes. And once they take the field and that national anthem's over, you have no control. For the first time in your life in a Major League Baseball uni, I had zero to do with the outcome. All I could do is pull for these guys like they were all my kids. And I had 13 kids on the field. And I had the same emotions that I did watching my kids grow up and compete. And when they did well, that feeling you get inside, you don't want to be pompous. You want to keep it in and be poised. But you are so excited when your son is doing well or your daughter's doing well. Quite the contrary, when they're struggling, you're living and dying with them. I felt that same way with my hitters this year. Anyway, enjoyed it. Enjoyed the season. We had a bunch of injuries. We were challenged by a lot of things this year. We finished 500, and Bruce moved on, and he went to be a special assistant with the San Francisco Giants. That was the reason I came to Texas. And just right after the season, CY and I sat down um, with the pieces the way they were, the new manager coming in, and Skip Schumacher was a great guy. I got to meet him, didn't get to know him that well, but he was around as a special assistant this
Mm-hmm.
year. We just decided for right now that wasn't, I did kind of decided that wasn't what I wanted to do with the current situation. Going forward, I'd love to still be a part of the Texas Rangers in a front office capacity. That may happen, that may not happen. But the one thing I know, I've been doing the podcast and a lot of media with Odyssey the last few years, and I've enjoyed that. But getting back in uniform and back on the field kind of got my juices flowing again. I mean, this is baseball. This is something I've always done from when I can remember, since I was 2 years old. It's where I'm meant to be. So yes, in the future, I'd like to get back on the field again. In what capacity? Time will tell. But last year, I can do nothing but say it was a positive experience. Texas Rangers organization was great. And it just reminded me where my place in life is from a professional standpoint, and that's being on the field. So who knows what the future holds, but yes, that's something that I aspire to do.
Quick question: as a hitting coach, do young players know what a two-strike approach is?
You were mentioning that about playing the game right. I'll tell you, and I think we have a chance of it coming back into the game a little bit. I think if you look a year ago, a lot of the teams look the same, and you're right. The strikeout is not valued. It's not a big deal. It's brushed aside. I personally think that's nonsense. It's important to not strike out. Of course, we're all
Correct.
going to strike out. I struck out 100 times, and I felt like I went back to the dugout 500 times. I was overwhelmed with it. To see the numbers today would drive me crazy. Really, to
Unbelievable.
strike out that many times. Anyway, I look at the team. I look at certain things that stood out to me throughout the course of the season, and one of them was when we played the Toronto Blue Jays. I thought they were a very talented team. I thought they knew how to pitch. Fundamentally, they had something special about them. They had an aura, that team chemistry I talk about. Definitely, Toronto had that. It's not anything I could put my finger on. It's just something being in the other dugout you can feel. It's palpable. But the one thing they did is they put the ball in play. They didn't strike out. You notice that you go back and you watch the stats of the Toronto Blue Jays of 2025. They
Yep.
probably led the league in not striking out. And I think they were one game away from winning the World Series against a kind of a powerhouse now in the LA Dodgers. So I think that example, hopefully, the way they put together that team, their concept at the plate, I hope that opened a lot of people's eyes around the game and thought, look at the Toronto Blue Jays and that recipe. You can win that way. And I think it's something that would be the best thing for baseball. So we'll see.
A question about, and I believe you still live in Seattle, correct? You're still in Seattle area?
No, I'm in San Diego.
San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you about Cal
Slumming
Raleigh.
it down here.
Yeah. Okay. Good weather there too. Cal Raleigh, and I don't know how much you follow Seattle. It's unbelievable. You find a switch hitting catcher. Ted Simmons is the last guy that I can remember that did that. Nowadays, people don't even remember Ted Simmons. Switch hitting catcher, 50 home runs is still 50 home runs. And from what I understand, he's a pretty good catcher. Can you explain to people how good a catcher Cal Raleigh is?
Howard, first of all, 60 homers, not 50, 60.
He had 60?
He hit 60.
Oh, I didn't even know.
People, I laugh because I know, the most I ever hit was 37, and I thought that was a lot.
It was a lot back.
40 is a big number. 50 is
Yep.
a different level. 60 is a different ozone. So the fact that he hit 60, I've been watching Cal for a lot of years. Great kid. I've had him on my show a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
Great kid, great energy, great. One of the best catch throw in all of baseball.
Uh-huh.
Has those intangibles. Seems like he's the leader of that team. Always has something good to say. He's a good soundbite. He's a Jeter type soundbite.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen him get a little bit better in the last 2 or 3 years with this control in the strike zone. This year, he put it all together and he hit 60 home runs, which, like you said,
It's pretty good. He's pretty good.
It's unbelievable for a catcher. First of all, to play that many games, to put yourself in position to have that many at bats, and then to hit 60. And by the way, Seattle's not uh, the most hitter friendly ballpark.
No.
So the fact that he did it in that yard was unbelievable. If Aaron Judge isn't on the earth, that's a slam dunk. The earth, that's a slam dunk MVP for him.
Technical problems, but he was Bret Boone was very, very good. Cal Raleigh is a terrific catcher. Knew his dad, knew his family, knew his mom, knew his brother. Great baseball family. And I thank Bret Boone, and he does podcasts too, which are easy enough to find on YouTube. All right, let me get to some things that are really important. First of all, our presenting sponsor, Jeff Stillwell, the award-winning Jeff Stillwell, really important. And that award shows you that he's respected within the company of Ameriprise Financial. Jeff Stillwell of Stillwell Financial Advisors. He's a sharp guy, and you should, if you care about your future and your wealth, you should understand how good he can help you. This award demonstrates that he's exceptional within the company. Give him a call, 732-343-0843. I want to get to the Harper Dombrowski situation and the Sixers breaking news. I'm going to get to all of that. But first, let me tell you about another partner, and that would be Thomas Chevrolet. Thomas Chevrolet, located at 1263 West Baltimore Pike in Media. Family owned. Family owned is important. As soon as you walk in, you understand the kindness of being a family-owned dealership, and those people are there every day. 38 years in the business, that says a lot. Good straight deals, no haggle, no hassle. Actually, very nice vehicles. Equinox, Silverado, Traverse, Tahoe. I'm driving the Equinox, which is really a nice car. A lot of good things about those vehicles. And the Corvette, yep, it's still a staple of Chevrolet. And Thomas Chevy is a certified Corvette specialist. They'll do maintenance, car service on any vehicle. Pre-owned, you can get pre-owned too. A great selection of pre-owned vehicles. You see what you can do there. Give them a call or stop by. 610-566-8600 or thomaschevy.com. Piazza Property Pros, another great partner. If you're thinking about a pool, don't waste any time. They can help you redesign that pool. They have great people, 25 years of experience. They don't subcontract. But if you're thinking about a pool, you got to think about it now, because they're already getting people that have signed up, and there's only so many you can do. It pool's not built in a day. So give them a call, whether it's landscaping, fencing, hardscaping, whatever it is, they can do it for you, front and back. Piazza Property Pros, 610-566-2608. Schedule a free consultation. That's 610-566-2608, or check them out at piazzaoutdoor.com. All right, let's get to the Dave Dombrowski. And without saying a lot, Dave Dombrowski didn't do anything wrong. He didn't say anything out of line. But Harper thinks he's the greatest all the time. And last year was not one of those seasons. I'm going to get my friend, my AI friend, completely independent, and she's going to break it down for you. But first, let's hear from Dave Dombrowski.
In Bryce's case, of course, he's still a quality player. He's still a all-star caliber player. He didn't have an elite season like he has had in the past. And I guess we only find out if he becomes elite or he continues to be good. It's not like he's, it's like if you say to me, I look around the league, I was trying to think Freddie Freeman. He's a really good player, right? He still is a good player. Is he elite like he was before? Probably not to the same extent, and so that's nothing negative. Freddie's a tremendous player, and that's, to me, is Bryce. Can he rise to the next level again? I don't really know that answer. I mean, and really, he's the one that will dictate that more than anything else. I mean, is what it comes down to. So I don't think he's content with the year that he had. And again, it wasn't a bad year. But when I think of Bryce Harper, you're thinking elite, right? You're thinking one of the top 10 players in baseball, and I don't think it fit into that category. But again, very good.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. He didn't criticize him. He spoke the truth, still said he's an all-star player. And then Bryce, as soon as he gets to camp, he knew what he was going to do when he talked to the media, and he goes right for it, talking about Dombrowski. And then he ends up ripping the organization in his own way. Let's listen to Bryce kind of comment on what Dombrowski said last year.
Dave made those comments in October, and then you wore that Not Elite T-shirt, taking BP one day. How much of a motivator is that to you, or has that been to you this off season?
Not really. I mean, I don't get motivated by that kind of stuff. For me, it was kind of wild, the whole situation of that happening. I think the big thing for me was, when we first met with this organization, it was, hey, we're always going to keep things in-house, and we expect you to do the same thing. And so, when that didn't happen, kind of took me for a run a little bit. So, I don't know. It's part of it, I guess. It was kind of a wild situation. That even happening. Obviously, I didn't have the year that I wanted. Obviously, I didn't have the postseason I wanted. My numbers weren't where they needed to be. I know that, and I don't need to be motivated to be great, in my career or anything else. So that's just not a motivating factor for me. For Dave to come out and say those things, it's kind of wild to me still.
Why did you wear the T-shirt then?
For the motivation?
Or the Not Elite T-shirt during BP that you posted on TikTok. Was there any message behind that, or was that just what was it?
No, I mean, they made the shirts for me, and I wore them.
Hey, let me just break this down. Nobody just made up the T-shirts and sent them to him, whatever company is. I'm sure Bryce wanted them. And if he says it's not a motivating factor, why is he whining about it? And then he says, keep it in house. What did Dave Dombrowski do that was out of house? He spoke honestly about, he's an all-star player, but it wasn't an elite season. I mean, but then Bryce goes after the organization with another comment. Let's listen to Bryce Harper.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love what the Dodgers do, obviously. I mean, they pay the money, they spend the money. I mean, they're a great team. They understand how to run it. They run their team like a business, and they run it the right way. They understand where they need to put their money into, but also, people don't look at this either. Their draft and their development is unbelievable. Like, they draft and they develop, and then they trade those guys for big-name guys, and they can spend the money. So, I don't know. It bothers me when everybody talks about the Dodgers just spending money. No, they draft, they develop, they do it the right way. They understand what it takes to be the best team in baseball. And you've seen that the last 2 years. They have so much depth. I mean, I think it was Will Klein, the kid's name was, came in and threw 6 shutout innings. He was sitting in Arizona 2 weeks before. They have that type of dynamic on their club, and that's what when you think about drafting, developing, and things like that, that's why they win. And that's why they win a lot of games each year. So, I love what they do. I understand what they do. I understand the madness behind it. But again, each team in baseball has an opportunity to do the same thing. Maybe not at the upper echelon of money, but they can draft, they can develop, they can trade, and I don't know. I think a lot of teams can do that in baseball. And
okay, so now we say he criticizes Dave Dombrowski for not keeping it in-house, and all Dave Dombrowski was doing was being honest. And then he talks about, okay, we know the Dodgers they spend more money than anybody else. And they do it, and not everybody can do that, and not everybody wants to do it, and I understand it. But he dealt with the way they do business and the way they run an organization, and he talked about the minor league development. They can trade players. That was absolutely no question, a criticism of the organization. absolutely a criticism of the organization. Didn't keep that in house. He's got to stop all this whining. And then Rob Thompson trying to ruffle it. I like Rob, but it's just BS what he rolls out there. He came in and he talks about he came in great shape. We know that, and to his credit, and most players come in great shape. But he said he wants to win. What do you mean he wants to win? Doesn't every athlete, every professional athlete want to win? Isn't that the objective of the game? He wants to win. We got to stop, all this kissing his rear end. Just go out there and play. Like, he's still a very good player. I still don't think he's a Hall of Famer. And he's not the best player on the team. Kyle Schwarber's the best player on the team right now, but he's got to get over it. Just play the game. And, sometimes you got to win. Winning changes a lot of things. It's not about your personal awards. It's not about MVPs. It's not about the Hall of Fame. It's about winning. And Bryce Harper has got to concentrate on that. I don't know that Dave Dombrowski has done a great job, but that's not the point here. Bryce Harper, just let it go. You don't even have to mention that. Let it go. I gotta have a better season. That's all. I just gotta have a better season. All right. So my AI friend is going to completely independent. I'm going to. Well, you'll listen to the question. Ara, can you tell me where Bryce Harper ranks among Major League Baseball players?
Checking Bryce Harper's current MLB ranking. Right now, heading into 2026, Bryce Harper sits around the top 30 overall in MLB. Specifically, he landed at number 32 on MLB Network's latest Top 100 Players Right Now list from late January. That's down from 12 last year, after a solid but non-elite 2025, where he hit .261 with 27 homers and an .844 OPS. At first base, he's still a beast, ranked 4th among current first basemen, behind guys like Freddie Freeman and Matt Olson. Here's a quick look at him in action, crushing it for the Phillies.
All right, so let's get to some other. What first baseman in Major League Baseball, and you mentioned two of them, are better than Bryce Harper?
Checking the latest first base rankings. According to MLB Network's latest top 10 first baseman right now from early February, the Shredder's take, Harper's sitting at 4. So yeah, 3 guys edge him out heading into 2026. First, Freddie Freeman with the Dodgers, still the king, batting .395 last year, 24 homers, 90 RBI. Age 36, but his contact and consistency keep him on top. Here's him crushing that walk-off grand slam vibe. Second, Matt Olson from the Braves, 29 homers, 95 RBI in 2025. Solid power floor. Not flashy, but reliable. Check this swing. Third, Nick Kurtz, the young A's stud, 36 homers as a rookie, elite power in a hitter-friendly park. He's the breakout everyone's hyping. Fresh face. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sneaks in at 5 on some lists. But yeah, Freeman, Olson, Kurtz are the ones ahead of Harper right now. Fantasy folks mix it up a bit, putting Vladdy or Pete Alonso higher, but MLB Network's the official word. Harper's still elite, just not quite the top dog anymore.
Okay, that's all right. I got it all. Thanks, Aura. Thanks for your help.
Anytime, Howard. Talk soon.
All right, so he's ranked among Major League Baseball players. Harper's ranked 32. First baseman, he's either 4 or 5. Actually, you know what? Would you take Vlad Guerrero over Bryce Harper? I forgot about Vlad Guerrero Jr. Would you pay? A lot of people would. So there was an independent. My AI friend independently. She told me her name is Ara, and she gave me the scoop. She gave me the scoop. All right. All right. The breaking news. I'm going to give you a question that you're going to need to win those baseball cards, but I want to get that to that in a second. The Sixers have now announced Joel Embiid is done. D-O-N-E, done. Now he's going to be out for Thursday night's game, probably be out for a few games. He's got shin soreness. How does he get sore when he doesn't even jump that high? The Sixers are done. And last time I checked, their first round pick, I see Maxie says Embiid is a stiff. Well, right now he is a stiff. Last time I checked, Oklahoma City owns their first round pick. So being a bad team isn't even going to help. It's just it's really kind of a joke. It really is. Okay. We have a winner from our last show. And I want to announce the winner from our last show because that's important. It was a Grant Calcaterra autographed football with a certificate of authenticity. It is Scott Murray. Scott, congratulations. You answered the question correctly, and Mark Lawrence was right. He said the only prop bet he liked for the NBA All-Star game, and the NBA All-Star game was a joke, and the whole weekend sucked. I mean, like, who cared about most of that stuff? The 3-point contest was the only prop bet that he liked, and why did the name slip me? Plays for Portland right now, but anyway, been out of touch. Why do I forget his name? Play with Portland. Somebody will tell me. Why do I forget his name? But he won the 3-point contest. The player that won the 3-point, he's been an all-star for many, many, many years. But Scott, congratulations. You got the question correct. And oh, Damian. Well, why did I forget Damian Lillard? How could I forget Dame? Now all he can do is shoot. Damian Lillard won it, and Scott, and that's what Mark Lawrence said was his only prop bet. And Scott, you got that. All right, our question. Now you're going to have to answer a question in 2 shows. And this is to win a unopened box of 2026 Series 1 Topps baseball cards, courtesy of Fanatics. And in that box, it includes one autograph or relic card. And usually there's an autograph in there. All right. The question is, Bret Boone talked about somebody that was really his mentor. He talked about somebody that was really his mentor. Tell me who that was. Now, don't submit it yet. Wait till Saturday. And Saturday, I'm going to have another giveaway as well on Saturday. But submit your answer, not yet, but hold on to it. Write it down. HowardEskin.com, the contact page, by midnight on Tuesday, February 24th. And on the show on Wednesday, the 25th at 7:30, I'm working on another great guest. You tune in the show. You see if you won. You can either hear us and watch us on X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube, and you're automatically notified when the show comes on. Save your answer. Hold on to it. We're going to have another question on Saturday, and both questions together. And the correct entries will be selected at random. Both entries together will win the unopened box of Topps 75 baseball cards, Series 1, the box of the Topps cards, and you can be a winner. All right. I think I've covered all of it. Bryce Harper's whining. Get over it. By the way, that's pretty good. I didn't realize the numbers were that close between Bret Boone and Chase Utley. But Chase Utley's not a Hall of Famer. So I saw a couple of people said he was a Hall of Famer. He's not a Hall of Famer. Jimmy Rollins, I think he's on the edge of Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Famer, and he's much better as far as a Hall of Fame candidate than Chase Utley. Chase Utley and Bret Boone's numbers are almost similar. And and Bret Boone played 2 less years. Come on now. So we've dealt with it all. I appreciate you joining the show. Thanks to Bret Boone for joining the show. Thanks to Joe Gangemi for doing all the technical work on the show. And thanks to Tony Anastasia for all the graphics and all the good things she does on the website and the graphics. And thanks to you for being a part of the show. And thanks for riding with the king and joining the Howard Eskin Show. And we'll see you on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Thanks.